Okay, so before I put out my video on wheel balancing, I felt the need to make a video about the balancer itself, specifically the one sold by Harbor Freight Tools. I do know that people have problems with it, so hopefully this video will shed some light for those folks, and don't worry, it'll make sense. Portable wheel balancer from Harbor Freight Tools. Now this balancer can serve you well. You just have to keep in mind that this is not an industrial grade product. Take care of it, treat it nicely, keep it packed away when you're not using it, and use it as intended weight-wise, and it should last you quite a while. Now this balancing cone, the bubble on here will sometimes get knocked around when it's packed away and stuff, and when that happens it will sometimes get hung up under the screws, so it's a good idea to just give it a little twist, make sure it's set free. So now it's time to find somewhat of a level surface. It does not have to be perfect, but you do want it pretty darn close. Once you get that taken care of, it's time for the balancing cone. And once you get it on there, give it a nudge in a few places just to make sure that it's seated properly. And when it comes to a rest, the bubble should be centered. And if it is, then you're ready for balancing.
Bubble balance, bubble balance, bubble balance. I got balance. I've got balance, I'm telling you. I got balance. You can't beat it.
If the bubble is not centered, then take notice of where the bubble is resting, and then turn the cone about 180 degrees to see if the bubble follows you. If it does not, then check the pivot pin for damage, as well as for grooves that can be felt. If either is the case, then it's time for parts or a new balancer. If, on the other hand, the bubble does follow you, then check the cone assembly for any damage that might cause an out of balance condition. And also check for an out of round condition of the shaft receiver. If everything looks fine, then a simple adjustment is probably all that is needed. So just make the adjustments and test for consistent readings. Once you have that dialed in, it's time for balancing. One last thing that I want to bring up, and actually I have a question about it too, and that is that if you notice how this cone assembly stops, you can tell that it is a friction stop. It is not a gravity stop. The cone assembly does not actually pivot on the tip of the tapered shaft pin, but just below it. This can be best seen by marking up the taper and nudging the cone assembly. When removed, the contact point is clearly visible. Is this how other bubble balancers function? I would have thought that it would have pivoted on the tip. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. So if you own a bubble balancer, please let me know how yours compares to this, because to me it just doesn't seem right. But if it is, it is. I don't know. But even with that, I have not had any balancer problems whatsoever. And I always lubricate the pin before I balance a tire. And it does actually detect a ½ ounce. So, maybe I'm just being too picky, I don't know. So when you see me nudging the balancer in the upcoming bubble balancer video, you'll know why. I'm just going for consistency.
That's my toe. Hello? Do you understand? Do you even understand?